And we'll get started. Hey everybody, my name is Janelle Espling. I'm an Emerald Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide. And
I'm her lesser half, Scott.
and he's a Gold Ambassador.
That's true.
With Plexus.
And I'm Stephanie Murray. I'm a Sapphire Ambassador with Plexus Worldwide, and this is
Nate, her husband.
And you're a
Senior Gold.
soon to be Ruby.
Very cool. I felt like weird. Like this is kind of funny to do it together. It's kind of cool.
It is.
All right. Well, we just wanted to start off and introduce our husbands. You guys probably all know them just through social media, whether they like it or not. But we want to kind of give an intro on who they are to us and just some highlights about them before they kind of start sharing their story. Do you want me to start or do you want to start, Steph?
Nate says you. Did you want to do one introduction and then husband speak, or you want to do both introductions and then let them go? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Why don't we do introduction and then let that husband speak?
Okay. So do you want us to go first? No. Okay. So again, I'm Stephanie Murray. I'm a Sapphire Ambassador. This is Nate. He's a Senior Gold, almost Ruby, but not. This doesn't discredit him in any way, but I have worked his position to that point. So I wouldn't say that he's necessarily an ambassador. He didn't build a team to that point. So rest assured, he's not. He's a normal husband. He's not a Plexus ambassador, I guess. Anyway, so we've been married for almost 9 years, coming up on 9 years, and we got married. Well, he was in the Marine Corps, and so he spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, and we've lived in a couple different places, and we've settled here in Menifee, California, and we are moving to Montana at the end of this year. And Nate, the reason Janelle and I really wanted to bring both of our husbands to this, to do this training with you guys, is because we've seen ambassadors. I guess I would say, for me at least, the one thing that I can see that can derail an ambassador no matter what is an unsupportive spouse. And Janelle and I all the time talk about how there's no way we could be where we are with this company without the support that we have at home. And so Nate, he puts on a tough exterior, and he is a tough guy. He's a man's man, but he supports me in incredible ways. And so that's why we wanted to have him share kind of how he's done that and how he's helped me along. He's got some points prepared for you guys, but one of the points that he didn't cover that I want to make sure that I throw out there is that he believes in me more than I believe in myself. And he's done that from the beginning. So when I was a silver ambassador, I was getting really excited, and I would talk about, when you get to Emerald, you get this Lexus and you get all this money and blah, blah, blah. So I would say, like, if I ever get there, and he would always stop me and correct me and say, when you're an Emerald, and same thing as I've pushed to Sapphire, when you're Sapphire. And even still, and I talked of just the other day, I said, well, if I make it to Diamond by this date, when you're Diamond, because you're going to make it by that date. So he believes in me more than I believe in myself. And that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but that is the foundation on which I stand. So I'm going to turn it over to him to share some of his top 5 tips, I guess, that he has for how to support your spouse. And I think we're going to kind of, Janelle and I might fill in the blanks as they go, but here he is.
All right. So one of the things is initiate. Scott's going to go into communicating with your spouse, but you got to initiate it.
Conversation.
You got to get into that conversation. You have to show her that you are supporting her Plexus journey. So that means you have to initiate the conversations, just like with everything else. You have to, like when your wife is mad at you and she's just not talking to you, you can't ignore it. You got to initiate, like, okay, what did I do? Right? We've all kind of been there. But you got to initiate the questions. You got to sit there and say, hey, so how did that opportunity meeting go? Whether or not if she just attended, or if she was the one who actually put it on. You got to ask her, how did the opportunity meeting go? And then she'll be like, okay, well, this is what happened. And then ask her, what are your plans? What are your goals for this month or next month or this quarter, whatever. Ask her the goals and how she plans to get there, because that's going to show, all right, I'm supporting you. I want to know what's going on, and I want to help you out in any way possible. So, yeah, and asking where your points are. You got to know the points, guys. Because at the end of the month, it gets, as the hip-hop artists say, cray-cray. So any questions on initiate? It's pretty simple, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. She's supporting me right now. All right. Then you got to prepare yourself. You got to get in that mindset that you're going to help out. You're going to pitch in to around the house. If you have to, Scott has to change a few diapers on Sophie. You know, you got to get that mindset of going and helping out somewhat. You can't sit there and act like it's the 1950s and you just sit on your couch drinking a nice cold beer watching what I would hope be either baseball, hockey, or football. All the other sports don't count.
Okay.
But you got to sit there and actually help out. Get the kids and yourself some dinner and get them to school. Take them to sports. Have them and do bedtime with them alone. It's gonna be difficult, but you got to get ready for that.
And I might add, because he talked about bedtime, and if you guys are, if you do have younger children, you know, we're speaking from, we've got a 3 and a 5-year-old, and Janelle has a younger baby. So if your kids are grown and gone, might have different household responsibilities and priorities. But if you do have kids around, I think when you're doing that, like offering or just jumping in and taking care of bedtime, it's not that your spouse doesn't want to be there, obviously, but knowing that she's sacrificing so that eventually she'll be able to be there full time and do, you know, be more involved. And so it's a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. Long-term gain. Basketball doesn't count. Sorry, Scott.
All right. So we all good on
yes, preparing
your mindset
to pitch in with the household chores.
All right.
The
third one is tact.
Having tact.
Guys, we have to go through this all the time, right? You have to think before you speak. You got
He's not speaking from experience or anything.
Sometimes I know your wife can get just zeroed in or zoned in exactly on her phone, Facebooking, or as I like to use the verb, plexting. So sometimes you have that when they really shouldn't be, right? And instead of just saying, hey, get off the damn phone so that way you can be in the moment. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So this is just fabricated, okay?
He's gonna share a real life example. It's okay.
So
I'm okay with it.
So Stephanie, she does, you know, get enthralled in her plexting. And we're at Braden's hockey practice last week, and Braden was doing pretty cool moves and everything, you know. I don't know where I was going to go with that. But anyway, so he's playing hockey, and she's plexing, and I go, oh, man, look what Braden just did. And that takes her out of her plexting mindset and goes, crikey, and starts paying more attention to her surroundings and being in that moment. And she didn't get mad at me and punch me in the face saying,
okay,
stop, you know, don't be a jerk.
You did say, hey, it can wait an hour or an hour and a half. And so really, I mean, okay, so the phone is, I'm sure, a really big hot button issue with a lot of ambassadors who are, starting to, as your team starts to grow and all that, so much more is going on. And so we're pulled in lots of different directions. And so it's been the source of a lot of conversation for us. I have tried on my side to be proactive in doing that and setting my own business hours, and setting what I ended up doing is actually the opposite of business hours. I set no phone time, so no phone zones. If that means plugging in my phone downstairs so that it's not the first thing I reach for in the morning, that type of thing. So I'm trying, because I know it's important to him, and I don't want to be missing out on my life either. But it's hard when it's right in your face. So if I make a choice to set my phone somewhere else and not be on it at specified times, then he knows that I'm making an effort, and then he, it alleviates him from being put in that situation where he has to feel like he's like, hello, get off your phone. And then if it does come down to that, then using tact. Yeah.
Yes. And another add-on to that, she is on the phone all the time. Don't attack her with it, saying, you're always on your phone. Just be like, it would be nice if XYZ, right? Any questions on that? We all bueno, Carlos?
Good communication skills you're teaching, Nate.
Do what I do.
All right. You're number 4.
Number 4, compassion. So as your wife's teams grow, so does the time that they put into it, the effort and the work. I have to emphasize those, and the stress. Dealing with some situations can really stress her out. So you have to, with that, you got to be able to read her and go, okay, I need to take these kids, take away these extra stressors from her life. So with us, it's the little chitlins. So I go and I'll take them to either out in the front yard to play around, or if I feel that's still going to be too loud for her, I take them to the park or whatever. So that way she can be able to either just unwind by taking a bath, drinking wine, because she does it all the time.
Not right now.
Just kidding. And just sitting in the dark with no noise whatsoever, just sitting there. And if there's a lot of stress, she'll sit there holding her knees, rocking back and forth.
Hopefully not.
No, I'm just kidding. But
he really, I can't even tell you how many times a week he probably does that. Just either suggesting, hey, you just go take a bath, like shut the door and lock it, or just taking him outside. It's so valuable, guys. If alleviating the part of that stress is not just feeling like, oh, I have so many things I need to do for Plexus, but feeling the pull of, I have so much stuff I need to do for Plexus, but I know that I need to be spending time with my family right now. If you, as a husband, just give your spouse that hour, and it takes away the stress and the guilt, then she can be, super productive in that hour, or take a bath and relax. But I promise you that at the end of that hour, or however long you give her to just step away, I promise she'll come back happier, and less stress.
Or you can set up a massage for her, guys. Yeah. Turns out real good afterward. So any questions about number 4? About compassion?
Maybe they should wait till after office hours.
We'll talk later, Scott. All right. You're number 5.
So number 5, sacrifice. You're going to have to do a lot of sacrificing, so that way you can have a little bit more freedom, right? So whether you're sacrificing time together, where you're just sitting there, whether it's just in bed, kind of just watching a movie or whatever, or quality time together where you guys are actually sitting down, talking, looking at each other as you're
like having a conversation.
Having a conversation. There you go. Thanks. And then you're going to – where did I leave off
You're
at?
over here.
Thank you. And then you're going to have to try to you have to sacrifice reducing her stress levels, like we just talked about in compassion. Even if your stress levels are through the roof, you still want to drop her stress levels down, because if you're just letting that stress stay at a certain level, then what's that showing to her? You're not showing that you're actually supporting her. I mean, granted, yes, your stress will be too much, and you gotta tell her that and decompress yourself, because otherwise, what's going to happen? The negative effects of stress for yourself, right? And then you really have to put her needs before yours. So if you love to go shooting, pew pew. It's hard to say this, but you can't go shooting as much. Okay, you got to sit there and sacrifice range time. Did I just hear Dan? Sacrifice your range time, because in the long run, you get to have more guns, more ammo, and more pew-pewing.
Yep. Can you share really briefly how Plexus has changed, like what life was like before for you from your perspective versus what it's done for us now?
So prior to Plexus, I like to call that PP era. I was kind of what I thought to be like a deadbeat dad when I got out of the Marines. I'd go to wake up early in the morning with the kids, drop them off at daycare, go to Kaligi or college, however you want to say it, all day, and then come home, make like mac and cheese or something, or pick up fast food on the way home, shove it down the kids' throats, pretty much, not physically, and then just pop them down in front of the TV, and I'd just sit there drinking a beer or whatever. And Stephanie was working all the time. And
all the time.
So I saw her like 2 hours out of the day each week. Mm-hmm. So there was that. And then I got a little bit on the fat side. So I wasn't liking anything that was happening to me. I hated not being able to do anything with the kids. And so then Stephanie was like, what was it, 2014?
Yeah.
2014, she goes, so see what happened was I bought this thing called Plexus. It's supposed to help with weight loss and everything. And I'm selling it. And I was like, okay. And then she started losing weight. And I was like, oh, man, I don't want to go out in town and look like the number 10 where she's a 1, looking like the number 1 and I'm a 0 because of how wide I am and circular. So then I was like, all right, let me hop on this Plexus 22. So I was like, choo-choo, drinking that pink. So, yeah.
And now how has it changed life?
Now I got another gun. I got more ammo.
A bigger gun.
That's what she said. What else? She's home all the time. Mm-hmm. So sadly, she has to see me all the time.
Yeah.
I don't have to actually have a job. We get out of California. Get into a nicer house, I guess.
We're building our dream home on 5 acres in Montana.
Yeah.
He graduated from college in that time, in this, last November. And so he's in between, and he has the choice whether he wants to start a master's program. Right now he's just relaxing after all of that schoolwork and all that stuff. So,
and then
what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And then we also are able to get a little helper or her assistant to help out around the house. So that helps me out too, because there's less work for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And vacations are pretty sweet too.
Vacations. I mean, I don't know though. Plexus sending us to Hawaii. I don't know. It's
not that great.
Rough gig. Someone's got to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything you got a little finalizing?
Yeah,
I like your closing.
All right. And in closing, in doing so, this will allow her to feel that she has a strong backing, which will allow her to do more for her business and for your family, and making her success that much more. Because, I mean, honestly, like the old saying goes, behind every successful man is a strong woman. Well, it's okay, guys. It's 2016. We can flip-floppy that a little bit, where behind every successful woman is a handsome bearded man or a handsome bald man.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's my spiel.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Again, if you guys have questions about anything that Nate shared, you can feel free to put it in the chat. We'll go ahead and have Scott share, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. So this is my handsome tall drink of milk, as I like to refer to him. My husband, Scott. We've been together now, this summer will be 4 years. We've been married for 3 years. When I met him, he was a single dad with 2 kids and had just started his master's degree. So in our Plexus journey, he completed his master's degree and became a pastor at our church. And he's an incredible dad. That's one of the things that I loved about him when I was dating him. And he's an incredible support. We kind of just, and he'll talk about this a little bit more, but we really kind of go at everything as whatever his dreams are, they're my dreams. Whatever my dreams are, they're his dreams. And he cannot accomplish his dreams without my support, and I cannot accomplish my dreams without his support. And that goes for everything. So I'll turn it over to Scott and let him share.
Pastor Scott.
Pastor Scott. Pastor Daddy.
Well, I think to kind of just piggyback off that too, essentially what I've gone through in the last 3 years is a complete career change. I moved to California in 2008, and literally within months, my life sort of, at the time, fell apart. My ex-wife now left. I had been in restaurant management for a long time, and all of this was going on right as the economy crashed. So I was doing warehouse work, I was underemployed, and finally just went back to grad school to chase my calling in ministry that I felt a long, long time ago. So essentially, as starting over as a 40-year-old, nobody really wants to hire you at a life-changing salary in a field where you have zero experience. So that's kind of where I was when we met. And the biggest blessing that Plexus has provided is that it's allowed me to have a job in the field that I feel called to, without having the pressure of, I need to make all the ends meet on my own. I don't have to be the primary breadwinner. I can grow and flourish and set us up for the day that my ministry will turn into something that will be more supportive for our family's financial needs. And that is the biggest thing for me, and how it's changed our lives, is that I don't have to carry that burden, knowing that I can grow into my career, my ministry, my calling, without the pressure of working 3 other jobs on the side. And she's been through that as well, giving up immediately after starting Plexus. She dropped her 2 side jobs and now is a full-time stay-at-home mom. So that's how Plexus has changed our lives. And I just have my 5 points to share as well. Nate kind of touched on it a little bit, but the first thing I want to say is just communicate. Like, communication should be your default for pretty much everything. It will solve problems. It will create support. It will make sure that both of your needs are being met. And for us, we both work from home. So if we're not communicating about what she has going on Wednesday, and what I have going on Wednesday, then there's no way that we can't not be in 2 places at the same time. And then we're left scrambling to try and figure out what we're going to do with the baby, who's going to pick up my older kids, all of those things. So communication's essential to both of our success, and making sure that both of our responsibilities are being met in that regard. But as Nate mentioned too, it's also a great way to indicate your support. When she came home from her opportunity meeting last night, I make it a point to ask how that went for her, what it was like, what kind of crowd they had come out, and those sorts of things. And even on days where I've got 1,000 other things going on, and it might be the furthest thing from me to really care about how many people came to the castle last night, I take the time to communicate that, because it's not about her being able to tell me, oh, 73 people were there. It's about her being able to share her experience and share what's important to her and share what she values and what she's chasing. So the communication in that instance isn't necessarily about obtaining facts. It's about just putting my support behind her. And so communication is a huge, huge part of it. Do you have anything to add? Do you have any holes to fill?
So far, so good,
All
babe.
right. Well, let's keep on moving.
Good.
The second thing is that it's really important to sort of damper the negative and emphasize the positive. So one of the things when Janelle first was introduced to Plexus, and she would share all of these things like, oh, I have friends that I went to college with that are making crazy amounts of money. And they have these products that are doing crazy things to change their lives. They're losing weight. Their diabetes is under control. Like all of these amazing things, the first instinct is, well, this is way too good to be true. There's got to be some gimmick. It must be, you have to carry like thousands of dollars of stock, or you have all of these obligations to do. It has to be way too good to be true. The most important thing when you have those thoughts is to make sure that you filter those before you let them come out of your mouth. Because if you emphasize the negative, it's going to turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy for her.
Yeah.
She's going to start believing that she can't, that it's too good to be true, that it's pointless, there's no reason to chase it. So I want to make sure that I'm not just kind of a volcano of negativity. But the other side of that is just to emphasize the positive. And, Janelle's been in cycles where she's been on the threshold of promoting, and it's taken just a little bit longer than she had hoped it would. My responsibility is to emphasize the positive. Yeah, I know it sucks, but look at how much hard work you've put in this month, and it's going to pay off either in the next month or the month after that. And just keep pushing and keep pushing. And like, honestly, those moments are moments that I sort of freeze because I hate to see her upset or sad. But those are the moments that she really needs me to just emphasize the positive. Keep at it, keep working hard. What you're doing will pay off. And that's so true no matter what level your spouse is at. Because if you're not going to emphasize the positive and all of the things that the future might hold for her, then again, she's never going to believe that she can obtain it, and she's going to stop trying.
Mm-hmm.
The third thing, anything you want to add? Okay. The third thing is talk to other people and find out what their experience was. You can email me. I'll give you links, but there's a guy in Texas, Willie Eichenhorst, that started a Plexus Man Cave. It's just a Facebook group. And it's all of these men who are married to or doing the business as well, but alongside their wives. And there's thousands of men around the country. You'll meet them at convention. You can find them on Facebook. But ask them what their experience was like, because I'm sure that they might have been skeptics at the beginning. They might have disbelieved at the beginning. They might have been the guy that's saying, like, this is a waste of time, it's a waste of money, it's a waste of energy. And now they're sitting on the other side of it saying, I'm glad that she didn't listen to me. Ask them questions, find out what it was like for you, what the process is like, how rewarding it is, how frustrating it is, where are the places where I really need to kind of back off, or where are the places that I need to step up. And the cool thing about Plexus is that it really is a family, and it's really a really neat community. So take the time to find out what other people's experiences were, because you might find out early before you put your foot in your mouth and before you do something that's going to derail your spouse or your partner, and find out, educate yourself, get that experience, and find out what other guys are dealing with and what they've been through.
Can I add to that? So yeah, just the importance of coming out to events. I know a lot of times, like for us, like kids, if somebody's at an event, somebody has to watch the kids. So I know it's not always an option for everyone, but if you can and are able to go with your wife to an opportunity meeting, I mean, go and just support her. I can say when Scott would come with me, even if he's just sitting there and he's like on his phone most of the time, I just felt good to have him there. And, the same for him, when he's preaching or whatever, I'm sure it means a lot to him when I'm there. And, maybe it's harder for me to get to 2 services with the baby, but I make a point to be there because I know it's just that feeling of support. And when you go out, you're going to hear testimonials and you're going to learn about the business and you're going to meet other people that are having success in the business and the products, and it's going to build your belief. And when your belief in the company is, being built, then you're going to support your wife in a better way. So I know it's not always possible, but whenever you can, put yourself in those environments, convention, opportunity meetings, whatever, it's a great opportunity to just connect with other people and just so your wife feels supported.
Can I add a little bit to that too? So it was actually in Hawaii last year that Nate really started meeting a lot of other husbands and got to talk to them one-on-one. But you could do really the same thing like through the man cave. And really, if you're proactive about meeting other husbands that are in the same situation, you guys probably are a little unaware of like how bonded the women are in Plexus. We're on Facebook all day long with each other. We feel like even though we might be across the country from each other, we know each other, we care about each other. People that are local, we see each other at opportunity meetings and that type of thing. So the women, we're building bonds and feel like a true family. And I know as a wife, I really like to see him coming into that world a little bit and being a part of that. Even if like his man friends, his Plexus man friends, I don't even know their wives for the most part, but it just makes me happy to know that he's got 2 or 3 people that he gets along with, that he's looking forward to seeing at convention. He's reaching out to saying, hey, you want to go see Range 15 in Las Vegas with me? That kind of thing. And I could care less that I don't know them, but just the fact that he's a little bit more connected to our Plexus world makes all the difference. And I think, would you agree that helps you feel
yes,
like a part of the Plexus? That's the right answer. Good job.
Yes, because otherwise I wouldn't want to do anything. Really.
Yeah, he doesn't like people, so
I like you, Scott.
I feel the same way. I'll leave it. And I think too, what Janelle was saying too, in terms of going out to an opportunity meeting, it's like, it's really different when you hear your wife talking about something because there's no context to it. She's just talking about a product or people who are making all this money. And without any context, it probably does sound too good to be true, or it might sound really stupid, or it might sound like a waste of time. But to go and to get to an opportunity meeting where you see it provides context. So you see what other people are doing with it. You see how it's changing other people's lives. You see how it's affecting their health, and you see a room full of people who are getting on board and excited with it. It changes the whole dynamic of your perception. So, yeah. Anything else? All right. The fourth thing is just to do it together. And there's sort of two angles to look at this from. The first one is to just really kind of dig into why your spouse or your partner is really wanting to do this, because it might surprise you. It might be that she looks at you and respects the fact that you worked a 50-hour work week for the last 20 years and she wants to give you a break. It might be that she is has gone back to work after her kids are old enough to be in daycare. And it might be that her job is essentially paying for the daycare. So she might want to stay home where she can save that money, make more money than she might have been making at work, but also invest in the kids. And then the second part of it is just doing it together will make it a something that you'll both be a part of. So it's no longer just like, it's my life, it's her life, but it's our life. And it goes so far into providing that support. It goes so far in helping her succeed. And it goes so far in helping her achieve her goals. So again, one of the things that we found is that Janelle essentially makes in a month what I make in a year. And, it's not one of those things where I look at it and say, wow, that's really emasculating as a man to have to admit that. But the reality is again, it's giving me the opportunity that I get to chase my calling and do what I enjoy doing. But the other side of that is now, how do I sort of bridge that gap? And again, it's not that she makes me feel that I have to bridge any gap, because like she said before, our dreams are each other's. But I look at it and say, so I can make up for that gap by doing the dishes so she doesn't have to worry about it. I mean, and the other thing is too, that she's obviously nursing. So she's working full time, she's nursing full time, she's got all of these other things going on. And it's just easier for me to fill in the gaps where I can do the dishes or clean the house or, help the kids with their homework or whatever it is. But it's just, I don't want her to carry the burden alone, especially because her perspective is this is our life and we're doing it together. And we talk about it too, like there might be a day in the future where things shift around and my job might not be at home anymore. And she might be in a place where she has people helping her manage her Plexus empire. And it's okay because it's just the season that we're in right now. This is what is expected and required of both of us to make our dreams come true, achieve our goals, and just really simply make it all work.
Yeah, just going off of that, I think one thing that Stephanie and Nate, you guys said, and one thing that kind of I'm hearing all together is that we were all thinking long term. So Nate and Stephanie, Scott and I, Nate, like he was saying, like, I'm doing bath time, I'm doing this because I knew that if I took that away from Stephanie, she could work her Plexus business and that would help her get to her goals faster and that would get her home faster. And now they get to spend every day together and she's there for bath time and breakfast and lunch and dinner. And same with Scott and I. So yeah, it's just like, having a baby, nursing is a lot, but I know it's a short time and I'm not going to do it forever. It's a blessing in this season, but it's because I know the long-term benefit. So just thinking as, a spouse and as an ambassador, think long-term and you make those sacrifices in the short run so that you can get to those goals quicker and then experience the long-term benefits.
And so I just want to add one more thing too. When Scott mentioned like doing this together, one thing that I love that Janelle and Scott have done, they've brought in their older kids and they do family goals. So most of us ambassadors are doing monthly goals for ourselves and our business. So they have started doing goals, the kids write out their goals, they have family goals and that type of thing. And so I think that's a really cool thing, getting your family or you as a spouse involved in just the mindset of like, okay, we're going to be goal oriented, even if their goals, your goal as a husband is not anything to do with Plexus, that's fine. But then there have been times when, we've decided, okay, like, and again, Janelle, you've got a good one too. When you get to this rank, then we get to do this. So we were joking last year, I don't know. Anyway, he really wants a third kid and I'm like, not ready for a third kid, but I told him, okay, when I get to Diamond, we can talk about it. That's more motivation for him to help me get to Diamond. They're going to get Disneyland passes for the family when she gets to Sapphire. So being involved in the goal setting and giving yourself as a husband something that to look forward to when she gets to that rank, I think is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been cool. So our daughter, we had her, I was writing my goals for the month, and so she was asking me what I was doing. And so she wrote her goals and she has reading. Those of you guys that have school age kids, they have to do so many AR points. And for her, if she didn't reach it, she couldn't go on her field trip. So we literally made the little boxes like, most of us ambassadors do, and she would check off her little boxes. And it was really cool because as a family, we're checking in on each other's goals and we're cheering each other on each other's goals. And sometimes they would ask, well, why do you have a meeting right now? Well, girl, I have goals. I'm trying to reach my goals. And, she would go to her room and she'd read and I say, well, you're chasing your goals. We're all working on our goals. And so we even wrote goals for Sophia, like that she would take a step and she would start walking and stuff like that. So, we have goals for the baby.
My goal was that she'd be potty trained, but that was like 3 months have gone by. So
Dang it. Missed that goal, Soph. Missed that goal.
So, yeah. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
And
more to finish.
My last point was pretty much the same as Nate's, which is just think before you say. One of the things that is so important about understanding why your spouse or partner wants to do this is just so you don't put your foot in your mouth and say something that you don't intend to say. So for example, if your wife is thinking, and her goal for this business is that I can stay home and be at home with my child. When you come in and you say, well, this is stupid, you're not attacking her goals for her business. She's going to interpret it as she doesn't think it's a good idea for me to stay home and be with my daughter. If her goal for doing this is so that you can, scale back and not have to carry the burden of a 50-hour work week, and you come in and say, this is stupid and a waste of time, what she's going to interpret that as is he's rejecting my desire to love him and support him. So it's possible that you're actually destroying her dreams and goals in a much more profound and deeper way than you even intend to do.
That's a good point, Scott. That's a totally good point.
Thank you. And Sophia approves also.
Thanks, Steph, for that.
And then I think that there was something else. I don't know what the other point was, but yeah, think before you say.
Good job, babe.
Thanks.
Cool. Nice work. Well, Steph, we had some questions that people sent to us. So should we just go ahead and read some of those off? Let the guy.
I don't know if you want to address this at all. He has no idea what to expect from convention, so a guy's perspective would be great.
Well, it's in Las Vegas.
How was convention last year for you?
Well, convention, there's a lot of moving parts. Your wife is going to finally be meeting a lot of people that are on her team. So she's going to be bombarded with new friends / Facebook friends. And then she's going to be extremely excited, like cheerleader level excited. Had like 20 shots of espresso in the past 10 minutes because of how much she's learning, the motivation that she's getting from being around all her peers and everything in that group that are wanting to progress as well. I know sometimes Stephanie, the first time she went, she came home and she wanted to hit the ground running even more. And I was like, oh, that's really fast. And then last year, the same thing. She was like, let's do this. And I was like, okay. Like I felt the Stephanie train slowing down a little bit. And then she went to convention and she was like, choo-choo. Right? You love my analogies, don't you?
Yeah, really, really descriptive.
So, yeah, that's my
It's
perspective.
very busy. Very busy.
I think for me, it was just another example to support her. So Sophia was literally just a few weeks old when we went last year. So for me, it was kind of easy. I knew going in what I was going to be doing, which was primarily taking care of her. So it's another opportunity just to be selfless and do whatever it is that she needs to do to free her up to get as much momentum, excitement, to rally her team and rally her troops and be learning without having to worry about, okay, where's the baby? What's she doing? What does she need? Oh gosh, she just had a poop explosion and I can't step out right now. So that was my experience. And the other side of that too is that I learned a lot too, just from the bits that I was able to catch and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Nate went into Big Al, one of the breakout sessions. You were real excited about Big Al. Remember? You went into the session and he was talking about the little old guy.
Oh yeah, the short little white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was funny.
So
that'll help out.
Going into the breakout sessions would be a good idea.
Yes, going to breakout sessions would be a good idea because then you can learn how to talk.
Talk the Plexus talk.
Plexus, and how to give some sort of presentation, so on and so forth, which obviously I forgot from last year.
But it's funny. I mean, after that session, he came out and he was a little bit more pumped up about it and felt like, he was pointing out suggestions for, the way that I could talk to people and that sort of thing. So that was really cool to feel like he was kind of on my side. Okay. Another question is how to get out of his comfort zone when sharing plexus in a manly way.
Are you a man? Do you talk?
Then you're manly.
That's manly. Sit there. I mean,
No, tell him about you at the car place and you were talking to the guy. Or wherever that. Yeah, car place. Remember the guy?
I don't remember per
He was at
se.
CarMax.
I don't.
I don't know, but you had a good conversation with him.
Oh, I mean, the main thing is you gotta know who you're talking to. Like, if one of my buddies, how we talk is,
Mhm.
he's like, "Dang, I'm tired of being fat." I'm like, "Well, no, duh, Fatty McFatterson. Take this thing. It's helped me out, you know, and it's helped out hundreds, if not thousands, of other people or whatever. I don't know. I'm not good at math. I'm great at public speaking, though.
If anyone was at the meeting last night, obviously neither one of us are good at that.
We're screwed.
No, but that's true. And it's funny because I'll help him, you know, if he has his old Marine buddies that are asking about plexus, you know, he's like, okay, well, what should I say? So I'll tell him what I say to my potentials, and then he throws in, you know, colorful language and says it the way that he would normally say it. So I think the best way to really do it in a manly way is just to be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, feel like you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got any
The
input
most important way is to stick out your chest like this. Well,
there?
that's how
Grow
I.
a beard. Grow a beard.
Okay, I have a good question that someone asked. And I've heard this from a number of different people, that their husbands won't let them work at all when they're home, when the husband comes home from work, or on the weekends. So how do we get them to catch the vision? What would you guys say, Nate and Scott, to guys that are really against the woman doing any sort of work once the man comes home?
Stop cooking him dinner.
To the what?
Cut him off in other places too. I guess.
What?
He'll come around.
Whoa.
Not like physically, but
I
physically.
know. I know. I knew what he was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to man up. You got to understand. Sometimes to get to that better part,
Mhm.
you got to man up and get through it. Otherwise, it's just going to stay crappy or get worse.
Mhm.
So at first, when she was working her business, she was literally on her phone all the time. But I mean, at first I was like, "Ugh," deep down, but now I'm like, okay, she's no longer on her phone as much. I see her more so now.
Mhm.
We're almost 100% out of debt. And now our lives are getting better and better because of it.
Mhm.
You got to push through the pain.
Mhm.
Rome wasn't built in a day. It was 2 days. I'm just kidding. Getting math's not my forte.
I think that part of it too has to be, again, thinking long term.
Yes.
So you're not going to change his mind. There's no way that you're just going to be like, well, look, here's a brochure of Hawaii, and this is where they went last year, and you know, this is my friend Stephanie, and she's making crazy amounts of money. You might need to figure out ways that you do your business in your own time, and then allow the results to speak for themselves.
Mhm.
I mean, most guys that I know that are stubborn enough are never going to change their mind just by pleading and begging and asking nicely. And even if you try to take more proactive means of, well, if he's going to be like this, well, I'm not going to do the dishes anymore. I'm not going to do this, or I'm not, whatever it is that he expects of you. If you sort of shut that off, then he's going to find other ways to rebel and make you do what he expects you to do, is the reality of it. So I would just encourage you to work your business wherever you can, get it in wherever you can, and then allow the results to speak for themselves. See, this is exactly what I told you. And if I can invest more time, then it'll just make it that much faster to get us to where we want to be.
Yeah.
And with my experience, most men, when they see the actual money deposited into the account, I can remember the first couple of paychecks that were, I mean, my first paychecks were pretty big. And he was like, holy crap, like there's actual money. And I think that was kind of the beginning of him realizing, okay, this is really something that can benefit us. So like Scott said, if you can work it where you can, and let the results being a paycheck speak for themselves. It really is
really important. Like the other side of it is that I think when we have these goals and dreams and we see the potential of what this could be, and then our partner is not on board, I think it's really easy to sort of, castigate and caricaturize them as, he's just being a Neanderthal. He thinks it's I Love Lucy time. It's whatever it is. And honestly, like, that's not fair either. So he might be like this because he doesn't get it yet. So just be patient and, don't, as much as you want to yell, stop being, the honeymooners on me. Maybe that's not the right time for the conversation. So just be patient and do what you got to do.
And babe, actually, can you speak on this a little bit more? Because I feel like just knowing our team and kind of the background of a lot of people on our team, I know that a lot of people come from a very conservative, traditional type view of what a husband and wife relationship and duties should look like. So even as a pastor, can you kind of speak to that? If men are on the call or even, we'll listen to the recording later, can you speak to kind of your perspective on that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I hear it a lot because I know that a lot of people on Janelle's team have a church background and who are married to guys who come out of very conservative upbringings, which means that wives submit to your husbands. And, again, I know that can be really frustrating. And I know that there's something very like antiquated about that notion that like, oh, well, just because my husband says something, it means I need to do it. He says jump, I say how high. He says do this, I do it. And again, the reality is that like that's not necessarily my understanding of Christianity, but the reality is that you aren't going to change that just by kind of rebelling against it. And I feel like it's really important to kind of counterbalance that by using another place where Paul says, wives, respect your husbands, which isn't just my way of saying blindly accept what he's telling you to do if you think it's crap. But again, it's figuring out a way to be respectful and showing him that you can do both. You can be a supportive, loving wife and however your family dynamic works and work the business as well. And I think that's part of it too, is that every family dynamic is different. So it's hard to give like one answer for all of these different dynamics. And it's really just a matter of, I feel it's really just a matter of communicating. And then if he's not going to learn and see it from your perspective, figure out a way that he can see it from his own perspective.
Can you speak to the men? Because you're kind of speaking to the women. Can you kind of speak to the men maybe?
Sure, it's not 1940 anymore. Get over it. No, honestly, like, I mean, really the not that the playing grounds change, but I really think that it's time that we understand that Proverbs 31 is about a woman who doesn't fit the conservative American evangelical stereotype of what a woman should be doing. Yeah. She's pretty much running the show, running a business, doing all of these things. And I think it's time that we allow our women to be able to be out there doing things that they love, pursuing things that they love, knowing that they're doing it for our families without our own masculinity being threatened, without our own sense of, I don't want to get too much into it, but without our sense of like hierarchy in the household being completely overturned. And again, it's just a matter of communication, I think, is what underlies all of it.
Yeah. And just one last thing I wanted to add. I mean, in any marriage, a healthy marriage is about both people loving selflessly. If one person is the selfless person all the time, it's unhealthy. And at the end of the day, there are things, maybe times when I want to work, but I just can't because my family needs me in that time. And it's more important for me to support my family in that whatever, craziness is happening because, parenting and motherhood is crazy. And in the same regard, maybe the husband wants a hot meal every single day of the week, but maybe on Thursdays, they don't get the hot meal. so that the wife can do what her dreams are, and he's sacrificing selflessly so that she can pursue her dreams. So
Yeah, compromise needs to be.
And Scott Foster on here, he says a good read is the book Love and Respect, which Scott, I'm not sure what, could you throw in there who the author is so that we can have recording? I'm assuming it's on that topic of submission.
Okay, let's move on to some other questions. I feel like you guys have kind of addressed this a little bit. How do you get your husband to see that you being happy isn't a direct threat to him?
Repeat the question for Nate, please.
How do you get your husband to see that you being happy isn't a direct threat to them?
Okay. Happy, but okay. I guess you don't want your wife to be miserable because if she's miserable, then you're miserable. I mean, I don't really understand the question per se, because like you don't want.
I think you kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of the way that you were describing your reaction to your wife being on the phone all the time. I feel like some of that when she's busy, when she's working her business, when she's on the phone, and all I want to do is have her present in that moment. That's when I feel like men get threatened. So I think that the best way to kind of counter that is just to be present with them as much as you can be. Even if again, it's communication. It's like, hey, I'm doing this. I need just 20 minutes tonight to knock this out. And then the rest of the night is ours together.
Yeah.
But I really think that foundationally it's just being present.
Yeah. And this is kind of a tip for ambassadors, and Stephanie, I think you and Nate, you guys kind of talked about this as well. If you can focus time, like even if it's 30 minutes, okay, babe, if you can just give me 30 minutes, I'm yours the rest of the night. And because you've only got 30 minutes, you're going to hustle and follow up with as many people as you can. You're going to make your posts and you're going to do all that stuff because all you have is 30 minutes. And truly, if I'm not focused, those tasks could take me all day long because I'm with the baby and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And so just really asking for help and going back and forth. Babe, you give me 30 minutes, I'll give you 30 minutes. You can go watch whatever, I'll take the kids. And so that's what we do a lot. And even, Scott will take Sophia to go pick up the older kids. And for me, I'm like, that is like golden time. That's a whole 40 minutes I have to myself to bust some stuff out. And to him, he's taking the baby to go pick up kids. But to me, it's like, okay, I can focus for 40 minutes because reality is I can't really focus most of the day with Sophia. So, yeah.
And I think too, just Nate mentioned sacrifice, and I think that's part of it too, because there's times that I am just dead on my feet and I just want 30 minutes to just do nothing and have leisure time and turn my iPad on and play my stupid games. And I realize that there's days that I have to sacrifice that time because I need to take Sophia for a little bit so Janelle can work, or I need to just reprioritize what I'm doing so that I can get my stuff done, which will free her up to get her stuff done as well. So, see, Nate, you didn't have an answer, but you already said all of the answers. Be present and sacrifice.
Thank you.
You're wise beyond your years.
It's weird.
I had one more question. I don't know if you had any more questions, but I have one here, Steph.
I have kind of a question. So
how do your husbands get on board and help support you work and grow your business? I guess we've kind of talked about this. What do you do if your husband isn't supportive? So I guess we've kind of covered this question a few times, unless you guys have anything else to add to that.
I would add to that. So what do you do if your husband is unsupportive? Well, first of all, like what Scott said, just fitting in your business where it works for your marriage dynamic. But then I would suggest you use that as fuel rather than water. So don't let that douse out your flame, but let it fire you up just as much as I think the same thing about anybody else, as whether it was a spouse or, you know, a friend or a relative that says, well, there's no way you could do that. Or, you know, that's a stupid thing. Like, you're never going to make it. Well, then I'm going to prove you wrong. And let that drive you to push harder and to work more efficiently in the time that you do have, and to be more bold in reaching out to people and working your business with more passion and boldness, so that you can prove to him that it's worth it and that he will see the results eventually. Sarah Marble, her husband John, has been very open about sharing how not just unsupportive, but almost blatantly tearing her down in the beginning of her journey. And she also had a really long search. She was silver for like a year or something like that, crazy. She's now a diamond ambassador. She's very highly respected in the industry of network marketing, not just in our company. And so,
and Dawn is an Emerald ambassador.
Dawn is an Emerald ambassador. And so if you guys look, I think he's got I know he's posted it on his like public page, but ambassadors, we can probably track down that story. But basically he was just extremely unsupportive. And I just think what's the important takeaway is that Sarah didn't let that stop her, that she was just going to keep going regardless of whether he was her biggest cheerleader or he was her biggest doubter. So while Janelle and I, you know, we started out by saying that, you know, neither one of us could be where we are in this company without the support of our husbands. I feel like regardless, I would have made it happen, because my whole motto in life is to wait for no one. And that includes him. So if he was being a big old fat jerk, I would have made it work anyway.
Literally.
Could you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think along the lines of what do you do if your husband isn't supportive? So just a couple ideas. If you're working and say, you know, once you get home, you can't do your Plexus business. So you work your business on your lunch break, on your 15-minute break. Maybe you sit in your car for 15 minutes before you start it and you go on your way home and you just make it work. And if you're maybe at home with kids, you know, find someone that you can kid swap with. And, you know, so maybe I kid swap with my friend and I watch her daughter on Mondays and Wednesdays for an hour. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, she watches my daughter for an hour, or whatever works for you. You know, be creative with your time so you can still honor your husband, but in the same way, kind of like we're all saying, you know, maximize that time that you do have to really work your business and make it work. So just be creative.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, if he's not supportive, do it anyway. But, you know, the trick, I think, is to figuring out how to do it to create the least amount of tension.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's disrupting your family dynamic, then it's clearly a problem, and it's going to be a problem. So figure out ways to do it anyway. And then the reality is, if you have a friend and you're at home and you're child swapping, when you get to Emerald, you can look him in the face and say, you know what, I'm bringing my friend who was child swapping with me, you know, 3 years ago when it started. So have fun with the kids this week while I'm on the beach in Maui.
That's a great idea, Scott. I wanted
I've been supportive.
Yeah. I wanted to throw in here, the other Scott shared the author. So the book is Love and Respect, and the author is Emerson Eggerichs. Spelled like egg, Eggerichs, so that's in the recording.
Egg is riches.
Okay. I had the last question that I had from somebody, which I feel like we've pretty much covered it. I don't know. She said, for my hubby, I think it's a question of, will this really work out? So Scott and Nate, could you maybe speak to that? Will this really work out?
My instant reaction is like, who cares? Like, you're never going to know if you don't try. So what's the hurt in trying? It's a $39 commitment for a year. And, you know, we all have Facebook. So, you know, maybe tell them that, you know what, I'll pay for the internet for the next few months so that I can be on Facebook or whatever. But I would just tell them, look, you know what, there's no guarantees. Like, you can, for every diamond, I'm sure you can find 3 people who fizzled out because they weren't committed, or they didn't try hard enough, or they didn't hustle it, or they didn't work it. But I guarantee that every one of the diamonds in Plexus will say, like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't try.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that we all can relate to that. Whatever it is that your husband does for a living, he wouldn't be doing that job if he didn't fill out the application and go through the training and all of those other things.
Good point. Can you top that?
Never. I can never top Scott. That's why it opened up.
All right. Well,
But I can't do this.
That's all I got on you, man.
Anybody else have any other questions that's live here on with us?
if you are live, you can turn your mic on and go ahead and ask a question, or if you would rather type it in the chat, you can do that. So we'll give it a couple minutes.
Oh, Sarah says, great job, Scott and Nate.
Quit sucking up, Sarah.
I was going to say thank you.
You wish, Nate.
Well, unless anybody has anything else. I think we're good. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in and listening to our stories and our husbands' perspectives. It's kind of entertaining for me, actually, to hear what you guys had to say. And I'm sure if any of you husbands want to reach out and ask more questions, you can always feel free to message, join the Man Cave, anything like that. Reach out to some people and we'll get you connected. So, with that.
Sounds good.